It's Chinese New Year, 恭喜发财. You've got your new threads on, new hairdo. How about a new take on a classic Chinese New Year snack? I'm gonna show you my better than pineapple tarts. First things first, I have a stand mixer. You can use a hand mixer if that's all you've got, or plain old arm strength if you want to work out. I'm gonna put in some unsalted butter. Now I'll add some caster sugar right in there. This isn't really enough sugar if you're gonna serve these cookies by themselves because I'm gonna sandwich them with some pineapple jam, so I don't want them to be too sweet. Mix this until it's really nice and light and fluffy. And here I'm gonna add some flour. I'm using top flour or cake flour, and that has less gluten, so it's not gonna be chewy, it's gonna be really nice and crumbly. That's what you want. Just sift it in. Right into the same sieve, you're gonna put in some corn flour. You can use rice flour, you can even use really finely ground rice. It is Chinese New Year, so I'm going for some Chinese flavorings with some Chinese 5 spice, which is obviously a mix of 5 spices. It usually contains ground cinnamon, ground nutmeg, ground cloves. It usually also has some ground coriander, so it is a bit savory, but I love using it in desserts or sweet treats. Now, very important, you want to add a good pinch of salt to the mixture. I just feel like butter doesn't taste like butter unless there's salt, and you definitely want shortbread to taste like butter. It's Chinese New Year, man, what diet? And this goes back onto the mixer. Start this on a very low speed unless you want to be covered in white. Very unlucky. The moment the dough comes together and it's kind of evenly mixed, you can stop the mixer. You don't want to overmix this. Ta-da! And then you want to turn this dough out right onto the board. You can see this is quite a shaggy dough. That's how you know you're going to get that perfect shortbread texture. So you just want to kind of bring this together into a nice little lump of dough. I'm going to cut this into 3 portions. And I'm just going to roll this out into a nice little log of dough. And just repeat for all of the dough. And you know why you don't have to add any extra flour to dust the board or your hands or anything? It's because this dough is so full of butter that there's no risk of it sticking. Now my 3 lovely little shortbread babies go into the fridge to chill for 20 to 30 minutes until they're nice and firm. So I'm just gonna cut the end off because we don't really want that. It's not nice and even. And then I'm gonna go for around, I would say 2 cm in thickness. I'm just gonna put these shortbread rounds onto a lined baking tray. And you know, unlike cookies, these don't spread, so you can actually put them pretty close together. Once you have all your shortbread lined up on the baking tray, the shortbread goes into a 160 degrees Celsius oven for 12 to 15 minutes. Once your cookies have had their time in the oven, you want to give them some time to cool down, about 5 to 10 minutes, just until they're firm enough to hold. They are very fragile, but that's because they're going to be really yummy and sandy and shortbready and buttery. And I have my pineapple jam. I didn't sit around making this for hours and hours. I bought this at the supermarket because it tastes exactly the same. And also, I've gone to the trouble of making my own shortbread. I'm gonna have a chocolate coating, so it doesn't matter. This is more than good enough. Now I'm just gonna take little balls of the pineapple jam and just roll them. Flatten it a little bit so it's like a disc, and then place them on each cookie. This does seem like a lot of work, but I find this rolling and pressing action pretty zen. It's almost like meditation, and you definitely need a bit of zen in the lead up to Chinese New Year. Once half of the shortbread cookies are crowned with that beautiful golden pineapple topping, You put this back in the oven for around 6 to 8 minutes. The shortbread is gonna get cooked completely through. The pineapple will melt a little bit, and then we'll cool it a bit and then sandwich it. It's gonna be good. Fresh from the oven, there's my beautiful pineapple tart sandwiches are fresh from the oven and they're smelling so good. I'm gonna let them cool just a little bit so that I can lift them up and sandwich them. But in the meantime, I'm gonna prepare a beautiful chocolate coating. Yes, pineapple tarts and chocolate. Happy New Year! Now I have some dark chocolate. Just to make everything nice and melty and glossy, I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of coconut oil. Underneath there's some hot water, so I'm just gonna simmer this and let it melt together gently. While the chocolate is melting, I'm just going to start making these sandwiches. Just pick up the empty side and kind of smoosh it down lightly. Smooshing is a very satisfying activity. Oh my god, melted chocolate is the best substance on earth. I've got a little tray which is lined with paper. Now what I'm gonna do is grab one of these beautiful sandwiches and just dip half of this into the chocolate. Drip off any excess and then put it on the lining to cool. I'm just working in batches of 5 because I don't want that chocolate to harden. I have one final special touch. I've got my pestle and mortar. And these beautiful ruby little gems are pink peppercorns. They smell so nice. They have that touch of pepperiness, but they're really citrusy. So I just want to give them a light pound. Once you have this beautiful collection of pink pepper flakes, just grab a few and lightly sprinkle them on the still wet chocolate. Yes, a pineapple tart is a pretty perfect little morsel, but I think we've made it even better with super buttery shortbread, 5-spice, chocolate, and that very auspicious coating of pink peppercorns. I only have one word to describe this recipe, and that is HOARDER! If you like this recipe, don't forget to go to kitchenhoarder.com to see more like this, and like, subscribe, follow to keep up with all this yummy food.